All right, I am very excited to now speak to Steve over at Always Geeky Games. I have to say, tactical strategy games are probably one of my favorite genres. Kind of like chess, with a lot more depth and story, and a little bit less intensity, a little bit more levity. So I've been pumped to talk to the Voxie Tactics teams for a long time. Steve, thank you for being here today. For those who are less familiar with this type of game, this genre, could you provide a brief overview of Voxie Tactics and maybe go into some details on, how you guys are unique and how you're approaching gameplay?
Yeah, sure, sure. Nice to speak to you today. So yeah, like you mentioned, Voxie Tactics is basically and essentially a complex chess game. So if anyone's not familiar with retro kind of RPG style tactics games from the early days of PlayStation and SNES, we take a lot of inspiration from games like Final Fantasy Tactics, Fire Emblem, Tactics Ogre, a lot of those kind of old retro games. So essentially, yeah, we're basically a very complex version of chess. It's a turn-based one-on-one battle game where you basically have your characters and you're essentially trying to defeat the opponent's characters. So you do that by using, spells, magic, additional swords and shields, all of that kind of traditional kind of fantasy style gameplay. And one of the things that we think makes us unique is that we're basically taking that kind of, very retro genre, the very old school fancy tactical experience, and trying to bring it updated for like the modern age. So we're introducing lots of mechanics and lots of complex, deep kind of tactical stuff that a lot of the retro games didn't have. So our game is very, very tactical. It's very deep. We have lots of classes in the game, lots of different races, and all of these kind of tactics elements all overlap each other, and it's very deep strategy.
Yeah, that's great. I grew up playing a lot of Advanced Wars, and I did try Final Fantasy Tactics, but there was so much reading involved that I was like, I just wanna battle people. But
Yeah,
it was a great game.
yeah,
Um,
exactly, yeah.
so the voxel style is really, I think, distinct, and lets you have a lot of fun creatively. I was just curious, what was the inspiration for going with this look and feel?
Yeah, that's an awesome thing to talk about. I'm obviously very, very passionate about retro games, pixel art, voxel art. So for me, this was a bit of a no-brainer. Like I love the kind of blocky voxel art, and obviously in recent years, going back over the last decade or so, things like Minecraft and all of the similar kind of games have become huge, and people just love that kind of blocky kind of pixelated style. And I think actually there's another huge benefit that often doesn't get talked about too much, is that it's a very accessible style. So anybody from kids all the way up to like full-on artists can really create whatever they want using the voxels. It's in a way it's kind of like digital Lego. It's very accessible, it's very recognizable, and everyone can kind of make their own style within it. People can do super complex models, or they can keep stuff very, very basic, like Minecraft, very blocky. And I think for me personally, it fits very well with the retro style we're going for, the kind of the fantasy vibe, the very retro pixel art from like the early days of SNES and Mega Drive. So that's for me why I'm a big fan of voxel art.
Yeah, no, I love it. And also just thinking about a strategy game, it serves as like purposeful simplicity almost that doesn't distract you with all the sort of like the visual items that like a lot of like AAA games, they basically sort of make up for lack of depth in gaming with cinematics and sort of very deep visuals. And I think when I'm playing a game that's like very strategy focused and I need to think very deeply, I like things to move quickly and I like things to be very simple. And so at least for me, like my experience is I really love that you made that choice in terms of the voxel style.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm biased, but wanted to talk a little bit about the item in the board box in our Genesis drop. We were so excited to work with you guys and do a little bit of brainstorming about what would go inside the box. So, again, thinking about individuals who might be newer to the game, can you talk a little bit about how accessories are used, and then specifically how the board edition took shape?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So in our game, basically, your characters, you're able to equip different items to each of their slots in the game. So we have, head slots for hats and for helms. We have body armor slots. We have gloves and feet and accessories and things like that. So it's a traditional RPG kind of equipment status. So when you guys approached us, we were super happy to kind of dive into the kind of the board aesthetic, the kind of the Elon, the board kind of branding. So that gave us lots of cool stuff to kind of think about and play with in terms of like the color schemes that you have, the themes that you have, your branding, plus also the kind of the Elon kind of space aspect of it. So what we're offering today for the board box is we're going to be giving all of the owners basically a Bored Astro Helmet. So this is going to be something which the Voxie can wear, and it's styled as in like an astronaut's helmet, but it's coloured with the board box kind of color themes, and there's a whole bunch of cool aesthetics there, very cosmetic, and it's going to play into the kind of the astronaut kind of space explorers kind of theming.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that you dove into the lore of Bored, but didn't necessarily mess with your own environment and story. Yeah, very very exciting, and certainly very excited to play you guys in a few matches of Voxie Tactics. You're obviously going to be much better than me. Before we wrap up, one of the things that is most exciting, I think for me, is that Voxie Tactics is playable today. There are a lot of games, a lot of blockchain games that are in development, of course, and we'll be seeing many next year. You guys have been building for a very long time. People can play today. Can you just share where people can go to participate in the game and experience it now?
Yeah, sure. I mean, all of the socials can be shared, etc. But basically, if anybody searches for voxies.io or Voxie Tactics, they're going to get to our website. And like you mentioned, our game is accessible and playable today. We're currently in an open beta phase. So basically what that means is people can download the game, they can play it for free. It's a free-to-play game. They can use the board accessory if they have the board box directly today in the game. Plus also if they own Voxies or any other of the NFTs which are supported in our game, they're accessible directly in the game today.
Amazing. I can't remember if I told you this, but I bought a new PC or laptop rather, so I could play the game. So you encouraged me to switch from my day-to-day Mac. Well done. Well, awesome. Thank you, Steve, for being here today, for chatting. We're so excited to be working with you, and we'll talk to your team on the Twitter Spaces soon.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. Super excited. Can't wait to see everybody in the game with their Bored Astro helmets.
Take care.
Thank you. Cheers.